Hello everybody and welcome back to another video by Funland Tutorials. In today's video, we are going to be having a brief discussion on the Jones 1971 model. So the Jones 1971 model is very popular, and in today's video, we are trying to remember or have a brief recapitulation about how the Jones 1971 model looks like. So remember how we started the Jones 1965 model by looking at the sectors of the economy? Let's do the same here as well. So remember the Jones 1971 model also has two sectors. So it has an agricultural sector, which is denoted by the letter A. So you have the agricultural sector, and you have another sector, the manufacturing sector, which is denoted by the letter M. So you have the agricultural sector and you have the manufacturing sector. Now, what are the three factors that are involved? So these are the two sectors of the economy. These are the two sectors of the economy. Now, what are the factors that are being used in the production of these two outputs? Unlike the Jones 1965 model, where there are just two inputs, in the Jones 1971 model, there are actually three inputs. So what are the three inputs? The three inputs are, so there are different ways of denoting. There's something called Km, or let's start with there's something called Ka. What is Ka? Ka is the capital for the agricultural sector. Capital for agricultural sector. Capital for agricultural sector. What do I mean by that? This can be land, right? Land is sometimes also a form of capital, or you can actually consider this to be land itself, not just capital for agricultural sector. You can consider this to be land. And then there's something called Km, which is capital for the manufacturing sector. So this is capital for the manufacturing sector. This is standard capital that you're talking about. In some cases, you can also think of this as T, because sometimes some sources refer to land as T, so you can consider that. You cannot consider this to be L. Why? Because this is one factor. This is second factor. What is the third factor? The third factor is labor. This is denoted by L. You can denote labor by N and then denote land by L, but that is up to you. Basically, these are the three factors that you have. The basic idea is there are three factors. So you have land, labor, and capital. Basically, that's land, labor, and capital. So let me just circle them. You have Ka, you have L. Let me just remove this and write it below. Let me just remove this. And let me write labor somewhere here, and you have Km. So what is the story? The story is agriculture uses land and labor. Manufacturing uses land, labor and capital, right? So you see, labor is going to two places. Now we have the basic story. Also we assume that agricultural sector produces XA, manufacturing sector produces XM output. It's no use for the sector to produce one output, right? So it produces XA gram or XA kg or XA ton of output, and M sector produces XM. Now let's look at the sectors first. So if we look at the sectors, it means we are determining the prices. So let's think of the price equations. So let's start with agricultural sector. If we look at the agricultural sector, what are the inputs going into the agricultural sector? Land and labor. So PA equal to, you can use different coefficients, or you can use different letters. You can use A, K, and if this is A, so you can use AKA, but you have to remember this K is not capital. This K is KA. So if that makes you a little confused, you can change this entire thing. You can consider this to be TL, right? So you can do that. Let me just work with AKM or something like that as well, or maybe let me just use T. That will make it faster. So we are considering T. So this becomes ATA. So let me just fix that. So it's using land, which is a function of what? A function of factor prices. So for this, what are the factor prices involved? Suppose this is this is W. So you have wage for this, you have rent for this, say RM, and you have rent for this. This is not rent, this is actually interest rate, and this is rent, right? So you have ATA, W, and RA, which is the rent of land and the wage, right? What is this multiplied by? So you're using land, so you have to multiply that with the factor income for land, which is RA, plus you need labor for the production process, so you need ALA, labor going into the agricultural sector. That is again a function of the factor incomes W and RA. This is labor, so we are going to consider the factor income for labor, which is W. Then you have manufacturing sector. Manufacturing sector uses what? It uses labor and capital. So you have labor, ALM, labor going to the manufacturing sector. What are these functions of? Manufacturing sector uses labor and capital. So you have W and RM. So you have W, RM. Labor. So you consider the factor income for labor, which is W. Sorry. You have W being multiplied to that. And you have, what do you have? You have capital. So you have K moving into the manufacturing sector. What are those functions of? Again, factor incomes. So W and RM. Capital is RM, the factor price. So you multiply that with RM. So those two are your price equations. Because you have two sectors, you have two price equations. Now we look at the factors, endowment side or the quantity side, whatever way you want to mention. So you have three factors. Because you have three factors, you have three equations. So let's look at land first. Again, you can call this K, A bar or T bar, whatever you want. Let me just start with T bar. So you have T bar, that is the total land being used. What is that being used for? That is used entirely by the agricultural sector. By how much? One output of agricultural sector requires ATA amount of output. The agricultural sector is producing a total of XA, so you have total XA amount, each wanting TA, so you have ATA into XA. Then you have the labor, so L bar. L bar is moving where? L bar is moving both in the agricultural and manufacturing sector. This is similar to the equation that we used here for the Jones 1965 model. So you have labor in the agricultural sector and the output of the agricultural sector, because labor is being used there. Also labor is used in the manufacturing process, so labor in the manufacturing sector into the total output of the manufacturing sector. What is the final factor that you have? You have Kn or K, whatever way you want to mention. K is being entirely used by the manufacturing sector, so K goes into the manufacturing sector. This is for 1 unit of output in the manufacturing sector, and the total output is Xm. So that is the total demand of capital by the manufacturing sector. Because we have three factors, we have three equations on this side. So let me just number these equations now. So what are the three equations, the five equations? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just a quick reminder, these are also functions of the factor prices, right? So that is how you can remember the Jones 1971 model, right? You have basically the issue is the price, the number of price equations is equal to the number of sectors in the economy, and the number of output equations, the factor endowment equations, is equal to the number of factors in the economy. So the addition of those gives you the total number of equations in the economy, and that essentially is the equational structure for the Jones 1971 model.